I'd never really seen true suffering until I met this starving girl in Kenya. And while it was the first time my heart truly broke, it was also the moment that my heart truly opened. Keep watching to find out how. 10 years ago, I got approached by one of my friends, Stu McLaren, and him and his wife had decided to start a charity helping kids in Kenya. He said, "Do you want to be part of it?" And I said, yes. We jumped on and we raised enough money during this first initial fundraiser to build a classroom over in Kenya. And I remember the next year he called me and was like, "Russell, we're going to Kenya. You should come and see your classroom." And I was like, "Oh, no, that's nice." I wrote a check, hopefully that's kind of enough. And I remember, probably a week or two later, Stu and one of the guys who were there, they got on their phone and they captured this video outside the classroom. "Hey Russell, we're outside your classroom right now and the kids want to tell you something really cool." And these kids in their broken English started saying, "Thank you Russell, thank you Colette." I remember watching this on my phone and just tears are streaming down my face, and I was like, oh my gosh, there are people behind this. It wasn't just I'm helping a good cause, but I said, okay, I'm gonna come next year. And so a year later is when we finally made the commitment. We jumped on a plane and flew over to Kenya. We didn't know what to expect or what we were going to experience or anything. We drove a couple miles to go out to these IDP camps, which stands for internally displaced people. They show up, and I remember all these kids start running towards us, and it was like the coolest thing.
Wow. Welcome, Karibu.
We didn't know how to handle it. And then I remember we saw this car drive up that had a bunch of cornmeal or something, and they dumped the cornmeal off, and we saw all these kids and families were scattered to this thing, and they started grabbing cups and stuff and trying to get a little bit of food for their family. And I remember watching this, what is happening? And I remember looking back at Colette, and she had tears streaming down her face. And she's like, I've never seen somebody fighting just to get food. The first day that we were in the village, my wife and I were in one of the classrooms together, and there was this little child, probably, 3 or maybe 4 years old, sitting in the corner. And we watched her, she put her hands through the dust and started licking her fingers. Man, I remember Colette just welling up and crying, just she's so hungry. And I remember being so frustrated, this is not fair. Yes, we donated money to give these kids a school, but they didn't need a school, they needed food. Why are we wasting our money on these bricks and paint and all these things when we could just go literally buy these kids food that they could eat? And I remember at the end of our time building schools, Stu and the organization wanted to take us on a couple field trips. So we went to this first field trip into this place called Mama Tunza's orphanage. She had over 100 kids she was raising by herself. And there was a feeding program we got to participate in where $1 per month would feed a kid. So $12 would feed a kid for a year. We saw these kids eating and we were just feeling so good because we were feeding these kids. And after that, we drove over to this other place. We walked in there and it was interesting because when the kids came out, the kids were happy, they were healthy, and it was just a different environment. And I watched as this lady, Mary, as she was running her orphanage, she was doing it from education base, where she was teaching the kids agriculture. So they had this little farmland next to the school, and they're teaching how to plant things, how to water them, how to grow the crops. And I looked at these kids, and the kids weren't hungry, they weren't scared, they didn't have the same look in their eye. They were different. Both of these women were amazing. They both were trying to figure out how to save these children, but the lady who focused on education, she wasn't just feeding the kids once, she was giving them a skill where they could feed themselves for the rest of their life. And it was the light bulb moment of just oh my gosh, yeah, we could feed them once, or we could teach them how to feed themselves. And I think, I didn't realize it the very first time when I got approached and I wrote a check to go build a school, that's what I was doing, but we weren't just giving them food for the day, we were giving them the ability to feed themselves forever. And that's a much greater gift. So many times, some people will write a check and send it off to do good, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for people who can do that. And I think for me, I had so much fear initially committing more than just money, because I was I don't know what it's gonna be like. I'm so comfortable in my house and my lifestyle, and I think sometimes we try to hide from those things because we don't want to know what other people are going through and experiencing. And I think having a chance to go back there and actually experience it and see the kids and everything, as scary as it was initially and how much fear I had going, it was the thing that changed my complete perspective on everything. When you actually get your hands dirty and have a chance to get in there and help the people or talk to the kids or play with the people you're actually serving, it's not something that you do to change their life, it's where it becomes something that actually changes your life as well.